UFC 318 just took place, and here is my full event recap. First things first, let's go over the betting recap. I actually made a video about all my bets. That is my most high-performing video that I've made in the past, like, 6 months. And here is the answer to how the bets went. We were up plus 2.83 units. We hit on Paulo Costa at plus money. We hit on Nikolay Veretennikov at plus money. We hit on Jimmy Crute sub. We hit 2 of our 3 parlays, and the rest we kind of missed. We also actually hit on Francisco Prado, 3+ takedowns, plus 800. That was a sneaky live bet I placed. And we also hit on a nice juicy parlay that paid out plus 10 units. I didn't track those, but I just want to let you know that we made piles last night. As for picks, I went 8-6, and as you can see, I went on a historic run to start the card. I was 7-0, I was feeling hot, and then we go on an epic losing streak. Underdog after underdog after underdog wins to open the main card, and that just destroyed our pick percentage, but you know, I can't complain too much. We did pretty well. As for Finz Jr., he went 9-5 as I went 8-6, thus putting our records 5 picks apart heading into next week. As for the Finz Hammerlock, my weekly most confident underdog pick, we once again cashed on Paulo Costa plus 184, thus putting our record at 24-44, which is quite an ugly underdog picking record, but we are on a 2-week winning streak, so we're looking to keep the momentum for next week. Now, before I go into my full card breakdown, I want you guys to know that I appreciate all of you for supporting. Make sure you leave a like, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for my new video uploads. I appreciate all the new guys coming in to support the channel, so shout out to all of you. You guys are why I am continuing to make these videos, even though at first it wasn't a lot of success, but we're actually starting to smell a little bit now. Judice completely dominated Nicolle Caliari on the feet for the first fight of the night. I'm very interested to see what Judice does next. She is a very crispy striker. Her nickname is Crispy. She got a round 3 KO by throwing a knee up the middle, which she was trying to do the entire fight. It worked out in round 3, and I would love to see what Carly does next. Ryan Spann gets the first round guillotine over Lukasz Brzeski, and it kind of went as scripted as humanly possible. Ryan Spann tries to knock out Lukasz for the first minute, realizes that he's going to lose his cardio if he continues to strike like a wild man, and then he starts going for takedowns to get the easy path to victory, which was a submission. Lukasz Brzeski should be cut. He should not be rostered. And Ryan Spann is probably going to get knocked out by any decent level heavyweight, so we'll see who he fights next. Jimmy Crute's submission was the freest prop on the entire card. We knew Marcin Prachnio couldn't get out of any type of submission against any decent grappler, whether it be purple, brown, or black belt. Marcin Prachnio will get submitted if you take him down and try to go for submissions. Jimmy Crute did just that. It's his first win in 6 fights. He's finally back on track. Jimmy Crute against any competent striker with decent takedown defense will probably lose, so I'm interested to see what he does next. And as for Marcin Prachnio, he should be cut. He should just go to karate combat full time. Islam Dulatov makes quick work of Adam Fugitt, gets the round 1 KO, made it look very easy on the feet, barely attempted any grappling exchanges, so the fact that he was able to go out there and completely dominate, destroy, and obliterate Adam Fugitt inside of 1 round is pretty impressive, considering guys like Michael Morales or Mike Mallet, it took them 2 or 3 rounds to get Fugitt out of there. Dulatov does it in 1, and he's still going to look fine for his GQ interview tomorrow, which the broadcast was gassing up a lot. You know, this guy is pretty handsome. I'm interested to see what he does next. I think he will get fraud checked by any competent welterweight just outside the top 15, but if the UFC builds him correctly, maybe he'll be a good prospect down the line. Ateba Gautier absolutely Francis Ngannou's Robert Valentin in the first minute of the first round, and he gets the round 1 KO. Robert Valentin did it. I don't know what the game plan was. His game plan was, okay, keep striking at me. I want you to keep moving forward and keep striking at me. And Ateba did that, and then Ateba knocked him out. So I'm really not sure what Valentin was thinking. You know, he is the Walmart Jiri Prochaska for a reason, because he exemplifies everything Jiri exemplifies, except he's just not nearly as good as Jiri. So Ateba Gautier, he's going to be a middleweight prospect that is someone to mess with. His grappling and wrestling hasn't been truly tested yet, so if they put him against someone that can take him down, I'd be interested to see how he does against that. But as for now, this guy has nuclear power, and I want to see who he fights next. Nikolay Veretennikov meme decisions his way to a victory against Francisco Prado. I actually had Nikolay picked. This put me at 7-0 for picks for the card before the travesty that happened in the fights that follow. But Nikolay was looking pretty good on the feet, like I figured. Every time it was standing, he was winning the striking exchanges, and every time Francisco Prado shot for a takedown, he was winning the grappling exchanges. It basically comes down to how you scored round 2, because round 1 was clearly Nikolay's, round 2 was questionable, and round 3 was clearly Francisco Prado. So I think both guys should just be cut. I don't think they deserve a roster spot whatsoever. Francisco Prado, he's 23 years old, so maybe he can go fight some regional opponents, you know, get some fights on his record, and Nikolay should just be cut. That's just the end of the story. Both guys are not UFC level. Brendan Allen decisions his way to a victory against Marvin Vettori, and I was watching this live, and I kind of thought Marvin Vettori won. I did have Marvin Vettori picked. I had him bet, so maybe I was a little biased. But it was a striking battle for 3 rounds, and I figured if that were to happen, Marvin Vettori would win that fight. And in the first round, I thought Marvin Vettori won. He had top control over Brendan Allen because Brendan Allen shot a weird takedown and got reversed. Marvin Vettori was landing good ground and pound. And the second and third rounds, I guess you can give it to Brendan Allen. You know, he was landing more damage on the feet. And Marvin Vettori just has an iron chin. So maybe because of Marvin Vettori's iron chin, I was thinking that he wasn't taking as much damage. But he was getting pieced up in there. So Brendan Allen, turns out he can strike now. I'm interested to see who he fights next. Probably someone in the top 10 of middleweight. I don't really know who he can defeat that's in the top 10 of middleweight. A lot of them are currently fighting each other, or they're just going to beat Brendan Allen. So, I mean, I don't really know how Brendan goes from here, but he is leveling up his striking to go on top of his elite grappling, so should be interesting. Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira defeats Kyler Phillips in the decision next, and I don't really know how to recap this fight. Vinicius Oliveira fights very weirdly. He fights like he's losing. He's always having his hands down. He's always plodding forward slowly, but he just is very accurate with his strikes. When he actually decides to throw, he is landing most of the throws that he's throwing. Kyler Phillips, on the other hand, he's throwing all these weird spinning attacks, and most of them are just not landing, and some of them are turning into takedown attempts for Vinicius, or it's allowing Vinicius to enter the pocket and swing wild hooks. So, Kyler Phillips, you got to work on your fight IQ. I did pick Kyler to win. I thought he would be the better striker. He, in theory, is the better striker. He just wasn't nearly as accurate as Vinicius. So Vinicius wins a decision, and he should fight a top 10 bantamweight next. He's 4-0 in the promotion, so interested to see what he does next. Patricio Pitbull dominates Dan Ige in a 3-round decision. He got multiple knockdowns that I saw, and Dan Ige just did not, he just looked like he didn't know what he was doing in there. You know, Pitbull was activating his takedowns, he was getting good grappling off, and he was also dominating on the feet. So it looked like a completely different Pitbull from the one we saw that fought Yair Rodriguez. Maybe the Yair fight was just a bad matchup because he's a long, lanky striker, and Dan Ige is a small power puncher. So Patricio against a small power puncher does pretty well. Now, Dan Ige, not sure what he does from here. This was supposed to be his like layup win to get him on a win streak, and then he loses to Pitbull, who's 38 years old and probably won't have any prospects in the top 10 at featherweight. I don't really know what you do with either guy here. Maybe you give Pitbull a guy like Lerone Murphy. You know, I always push to get Lerone Murphy a loss. Maybe Pitbull versus Lerone Murphy, you know? Long, lanky striker probably defeats Pitbull, but maybe Pitbull has turned back the clock a little bit, and we'll see an interesting fight there. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. Now, this was an epic, epic fight. Now, I did have Kevin Holland spread, which means I needed him to win by finish or to win dirty 27, and he had already lost the first 2 rounds in the scorecard, so I desperately needed a Kevin Holland round 3 finish, and there was 2 instances in round 3 where Daniel Rodriguez looked like his lights went completely out. It was very strange to see. Kevin Holland would land a big uppercut, D-Rod would do like the, and he would like almost fall down. Kevin Holland would just stand there, look at him, wait a couple seconds, hit him with something big again, and then Daniel, poof, like his lights would go out again. The ref was this close to stopping it in round 3, but Daniel Rodriguez ends up getting top control and winning the fight. Daniel Rodriguez also knocked down Kevin Holland multiple times in the first couple rounds, something I was not expecting whatsoever. So this fight You have to rewatch it. It was a great banger. Daniel Rodriguez comes away with the decision in a fight that I never envisioned him winning at all. Minus 800 for Kevin Holland was the closing betting line. So the fact that D-Rod comes up with this win, now he's on a nice little win streak at welterweight. I think he's 38 years old, so I don't really know what he does from here, but his striking looks leveled up. And as for Kevin Holland, once again, if you put Kevin Holland against a competent welterweight that's in the top 10, he will lose. He only wins meme fights. It's crazy. Vicente Luque, that was an interesting win. I thought because he beat Luque, he would beat someone like Daniel Rodriguez, but no. Beating Luque, I guess, was a meme win as well. So Kevin Holland against any guy in the top 10 is losing. It's just that simple. Kevin Holland, man, I mean, career underperformer. It's sad. And welterweight Kevin Holland as well. This wasn't even middleweight Kevin Holland. This is the Kevin Holland that's taking things seriously. And he nearly got knocked out by Daniel Rodriguez multiple times. So overall, banger fight. But Kevin, I don't know what was going on in there at all. Paulo Costa completely dominates Roman Kopylov. This went completely according to the script that I drew up. I knew that Paulo Costa was the better striker. He threw with way more volume as I predicted. And Roman Kopylov, he's 34 years old. I think a lot of people were missing that. He's 34, as is Paulo Costa. It's not like Paulo Costa was the old head. Paulo Costa was the established top 15 middleweight, and Roman Kopylov was the guy trying to break into the rankings at 34 years old. So Paulo Costa domination was always the script. He completely outvolumed Roman to a decision, and now Paulo actually has a win. So Paulo with a win is a dangerous guy. He's going to be on Twitter completely roasting every top 10 middleweight moving forward, and it'll actually make sense now that he actually has a competent win. In the main event, Max Holloway completely Dustin Poirier. Watching the fight live, I could even score it 50-45 for Max, which would have destroyed my plus 13.5 spread for Dustin. But I guess you can argue that Dustin might have won the second round, even though he got knocked down. He, got a knockdown of his own against Max Holloway. And in rounds 3, 4, 5, it was just more of the same. Max Holloway is completely out-voluming in Dustin. And at this point, lightweight Max Holloway actually possesses a lot of power compared to previous lightweight Max Holloways we've seen. He seems to have built more muscle, and he got a lot of knockdowns against Dustin. He wobbled him multiple times, he rocked him multiple times, and overall, GG's to Dustin Poirier in his career. Max Holloway needed this win because he was not the one retiring. He's like 32 years old. So Max Holloway in the lightweight division, interested to see who he fights next. He's probably going to fight someone like Charles Oliveira. I could have seen him fighting Charles Oliveira with a win or a loss. That's a great matchup to see. And Dustin, you had a great career. Almost pulled it through for the Finz and his fans at the end. But alas, not everyone gets the storybook ending, although this was as storybook of an ending as it gets. They gave him a whole video package. The whole crowd was chanting for him even though he lost. He put up a great fight in a loss. He even jumped guillotine the second round, which was cinema. Imagine he got that. That would have been sick. But overall, great fight, great card. I enjoyed it.